On this week's episode of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla and EV podcast, a new patent applied for by Tesla suggests that the next-gen Roadster might be doing some extra crazy stuff to make it outperform other supercars. Plus, the Cybertruck's off-road armor package finally arrives, a near-future timeline and big expectations arrive for the upcoming version 14 of FSD Supervised, and more. What's happening, friends? I'm Ryan McCaffrey, and I'm joined directly at my feet here, lying on the floor under my desk, by Lily, the silly Labrador puppy, and to my left, chilling out on the couch, is Daisy the Boxer. Welcome to episode 524 for August 17th, 2025 of Ride the Lightning, your weekly Tesla and EV podcast. I want to start by saying that I hope all of you enjoyed last week's vacation episode, as I call them, because when I go on vacation, I prepare what I call the vacation episode. But that was fun. That was fun with Sawyer Merritt. I hope you enjoyed it. I am back, quote unquote, live this week talking about the most up-to-date Tesla and EV news. But I had a really, really great time unplugging from everything last week. So I once again just want to thank all of you for allowing me to do that, for tuning back in this week and tuning in last week to the vacation episode with Sawyer. Speaking of travels, it turns out I will indeed be zipping down to Los Angeles on another brief business trip this week. So, for those of you in the Los Angeles area, I would love to invite you to what I'll very clearly say is a quite informal listener meetup. Nothing fancy, no RSVP list, nothing like that. But a very informal Ride the Lightning listener meetup at the Tesla Diner in Hollywood on Monday at 7 p.m., which I realize might be after some of you listen to this episode, or I should say before. It'll have happened. You won't hear the episode until after it's happened, but it might be before some of you actually hear this. I apologize that I couldn't give you more notice, but just with the way it worked out on this one, that's how it is. So I'm hoping maybe I might see a couple of you down there. If not, I won't take any offense, and I'll try to give you some more notice the next time I happen to find myself in or near the Tesla Diner. All right, getting warmed up with Tesla news this week, the company has revamped their loyalty program right within your Tesla app. So if you open your Tesla app and you tap the hamburger icon in the upper right corner, you will see that a new loyalty benefits section has been added. And if you go in there, you will see current offers for existing Tesla owners on each of the cars. Now, these will no doubt change over time, but what I wanted to call particular attention to here was the inclusion of FSD transfer as a loyalty benefit. And specifically, I wanted to read you the fine print on this because I do think it's interesting. I think there's some optimism about the long-term plans for FSD transfer sort of hiding in plain sight within the fine print. So it says, loyalty benefits are available if you currently own a qualifying Tesla product and you are purchasing another qualifying Tesla product using the same Tesla account. Loyalty benefits are also available if you've previously owned a qualifying Tesla product and you're purchasing another qualifying Tesla product using the same account. Tesla customers can receive loyalty benefits up to 10 times over the life of the account. Terms apply. And then the second paragraph of fine print is this. The full self-driving supervised transfer program is subject to change or end at any time and cannot be applied retroactively. FSD Supervised cannot be transferred from a Foundation Series Cybertruck, Model Y Launch Series, or a vehicle under an active lease. Used vehicle, business, and commercial orders are not eligible. The transferring vehicle cannot be the subject of a pending cancellation or buyback request or have any delinquent liens or balances. Additional terms and conditions apply. and will be provided prior to delivery. So, while yes, it does say that FSD transfer is subject to change or end at any time, this to me sure seems like it's here to stay, because this loyalty benefit program itself seems like it's here to stay. Now, to stay, pardon me. So why do I say that, based on that bit of fine print? Well, your ears might have perked up at the Tesla customers can receive loyalty benefits up to 10 times over the life of the account. 10 times is a lot, because I think you'd agree most people are not going to buy a new car more than every 2 to 3 years at the most. So we're talking about a long-term situation here, or at least it seems like Tesla intends for this to be a long-term program. And plus, now this is me just giving an opinion, with the tax credit ending for good, or at least for the foreseeable future, Tesla is probably going to need to give more reasons for existing owners to keep coming back. I know I've been saying that I feel like FSD transfer's been unofficially permanent for a while now, and my point here is I think this new loyalty program, loyalty benefits situation, I think this is Tesla making it more or less official that FSD transfer is here to stay. And if I'm right about that, and I do feel pretty confident in that statement, thank goodness, because as I've said over and over, and I know all of you feel the same way, it should be permanent. FSD transfer, it should be tied to our accounts, or maybe, okay, one car at a time, but it should be something that we do not lose when we purchase, or lose value on when we go from one Tesla to a new one. So good stuff there. I am very, very optimistic that FSD transfer is now more or less officially here to stay, even if Tesla won't put it in stone and say, yes, this is going to be the case forever. Next up, as we have another appetizer here, the Cybertruck is finally getting its armor package for those of you who are serious off-roaders and rock crawlers, and I know you're out there. I saw this on the official @Cybertruck account on X, and they posted, Cybertruck terrestrial armor package is here. Coated steel rock sliders and aluminum underbody battery shield, provide greater protection from rocks and debris when off-roading on rough terrain. Available now for Foundation Series, expanding to all owners next month, meaning September. And then the online Tesla shop page for it describes it as such, quote, get extra terrestrial. The Cybertruck terrestrial armor package includes enhanced rock sliders and an underbody battery shield to provide greater protection from rocks and debris when off-roading on tough terrain. The rock sliders are constructed from coated steel, and the underbody battery shield is constructed from aluminum for greater protection against scraping. Weighs 185 pounds and includes one underbody shield, one left side structural rocker, and one right side structural rocker. The price, if you're curious, $3,500, and that includes installation at a Tesla service center. Now, it's fair to say there are absolutely plenty of aftermarket rockers that you could get for quite a lot less, but there definitely are not aftermarket underbody shields, battery shields, and presumably this one is warranted by Tesla on top of that. And I have to guess, being honest here, this probably will not appeal to, 90% of Cybertruck owners, maybe more, but the ones that want this are going to really put it to use, so it's going to be super great for them. And I'll say this, maybe they had a small allocation, but seems like a good sign, any way you slice it, that it's already sold out, at least for now, on the online Tesla shop. Speaking of the Cybertruck, here's a weird story this week. The US government wants to wreck some Cybertrucks for science, or, well, for military defense purpose training at the very least, which is kind of science. I saw this on Teslarati, who wrote, "The Tesla Cybertruck is wanted by the United States Air Force as the military branch is buying up a fleet of vehicles specifically for use as targets in munitions training and testing. The Air Force listed the Cybertruck among 33 total vehicles that will be used specifically to support the United States Special Operations Command, their standoff precision guided munition training and tests." I love they include the acronym there of SOPGM, SOPGM. Are they using that acronym in speech to each other? I don't know. Anyway, the Cybertruck was specifically chosen because of its durability. The Air Force states in filings that are public, quote, "Redacted intends to use specific Tesla manufactured vehicles for target vehicle training flight test events. In the operating theater, it is likely the type of vehicles used by the enemy may transition to Tesla Cybertrucks, as they have been found not to receive the normal extent of damage expected upon major impact. Testing needs to mirror real-world situations. The intent of the training is to prep the units for operations by simulating scenarios as closely as possible to the real-world situations," end quote. Well, I have to say, that is a new one. You know, going all the way back to the original unveiling in 2019 of the Cybertruck, where Tesla said it's bulletproof, and then they later actually did it. When the truck was coming out in 2023, they went ahead and did it, and there have since been Cybertruck owners that have shot their trucks as well. And now, to one-up that is the military that's going to do more than shoot at them. Well, let's put it this way. They're going to do more than shoot bullets at them. The military taking steps to study how to destroy Cybertrucks in case we ever find ourselves in a military conflict in which an enemy is using Cybertrucks against us. I mean, heck, that's TV commercial material that the ad writes itself. Cybertruck, a truck so tough that the military had to study them in case they ever get used in a war against us. Oh man, that marketing copy needs some punching up, I admit. But that was a story that I couldn't help but get a little bit of a chuckle out of, and just goes to show you, I mean, the Cybertruck really is unlike any other truck that's publicly for sale to regular consumers. A quick pause right here before I get into this week's big news stories to tell you about this week's Lightning Round mini episode for those of you kindly supporting the podcast over on my Patreon page. This week's Lightning Round was about the need, in my humble opinion, for Disneyland to electrify 3 specific attractions. Spoiler, that's where I was with my family last week. So I came back and couldn't help but make some Tesla content out of it, because that's just how my brain works. So if you would like to hear that, you can sign up for my Patreon, in which case you'd be supporting what I'm doing here week in and week out with Ride the Lightning. The support tiers start at just $5 a month, but the Lightning Round mini episodes that I do each week on Patreon are at that $10 per month tier or higher. So you can jump in on that at patreon.com/Tesla podcast, or click the link in the episode description. And there are now 155 Lightning Round mini episodes up there. Gosh knows how many hours of content that is. It's a lot. So if you do want to join the Patreon at that $10 per month tier, you will instantly get access to a whole bunch of extra Tesla and EV content up there for you. I would be very humbled and grateful if you would consider a pledge, because as you all know, and you've seen it week in and week out, I put this thing up every single week. I put my heart and soul into it. A lot of research, a lot of time. I'd be so grateful if you wanted to join the Patreon. And I'll just mention too, if you wanted to just sign up once for an annual pledge, once a year, there's a 10% discount on the annual pledges as well. So again, patreon.com/Tesla podcast. Next up this week, those of you who either have purchased or subscribed to FSD Supervised know that it has been many, many months now, whether you have a Hardware 3 car or an AI 4 car, that since we've had anything but a minor fixes update on any of our cars. The good news is that wait is winding down, at least for the AI 4 folks, and it sounds like it might be a big update once it finally arrives. Tesla CEO Elon Musk took to X to respond to a post by someone annoyed at the nagging that the car does on FSD Supervised if you take your eyes off the road for more than a couple seconds. Elon responded saying, quote, "The FSD release in about 6 weeks will be a dramatic gain with a 10x higher parameter count and many other improvements. It's going through training and testing now. Once we confirm real-world safety of FSD 14, which we think will be amazing, the car will nag you much less," end quote. Now, before you break out your calendar and start eagerly taking a red marker and Xing out each day on your calendar, ticking down to 6 weeks, just waiting for 6 weeks to go by, let's all politely remind ourselves that Elon's timelines tend to be a tad optimistic. So could we get this FSD version 14 in about 6 weeks? Of course we could. It's certainly on the table. They are testing it now. That's a good sign. And in fact, I'll say this just very selfishly, if you allow me a quick moment, my birthday is almost exactly 6 weeks from when he posted this at the beginning of the week. So I would very happily take version 14 as a birthday present to me and also everybody else from Tesla. But if it turns into 8 weeks or 10 or 12, don't be surprised. The good news is that we know the Tesla AI team will deliver. We've all seen the progress, and version 14 sounds like it's going to be a big one. Elon himself calls it a dramatic gain, and while I don't think we really have any context, or at least my puny non-programmer, non-engineer brain has any context for how a 10x parameter count will translate into real-world improvements that we can see in the system as we're using it, Elon also notes, quote, many other improvements. In fact, in another post, Elon responded to somebody by saying, quote, "The FSD software update next month will be a major step change improvement for rare conditions," end quote. Now, I presume that Elon means edge cases versus rare weather conditions like a hurricane or a tornado or something, which is great. Edge cases are just that. They don't pop up very often. We don't know what the car is going to do on FSD when we encounter them. And I'll tell you, I don't know if I would call this spot near my house, I've talked about it before, so I won't linger for more than a moment here. There's a spot near my house where there's it's a red light that I need to turn right at, but there's a no right on red sign, which FSD usually will just blow through after it comes to a complete stop and checks to see if it's clear. It'll just go. So that's mistake number one that it makes in that spot. And then it makes the right. There's 2 lanes, a right turn lane and a left turn lane, because it's only like 50 feet. It's like 2 car lengths. And then that little street stops and it becomes a 3-way stop. And you either turn left or turn right at the 3-way stop. And my car on either one, AI3 or AI4, will blow through that stop sign. It will just go. Like when it makes the right turn off of the red light, it does not stop at the immediate stop sign. It just goes. So I would consider that something of an edge case because it's definitely not a road scenario that I encounter I encounter it regularly, but it's not something I really see anywhere else in with any sort of regularity at all. So the fact that version 14 is going to address these rare conditions, that's great. I'll be curious to see if my particular edge case that I frequent near my house if it's changed at all, if the behavior by the car has changed. And then more tangibly than just being better at rare conditions, less nagging. Now, how much so remains to be seen, but if you're able to go eyes off for even 10 seconds, heck, maybe even 5, because I actually haven't measured it to see how long you can keep your eyes off now before it yells at you. But let's say 10 seconds. Well, that would even be enough to maybe do something on the Tesla screen, like figure out something on the map or pull up a different audio, podcast or whatever you want to listen to. But 10 seconds would be enough to do something on the screen or maybe even glance at a text message on your phone and still have the full self-driving supervised system be safely in control for you. Now, as to where we are relative to the robotaxi branch of the software, what's running in Austin, Elon also posted about that saying, quote, "The Austin robotaxi FSD build is about 6 months more advanced than what is available in cars in America, and there are some additional breakthroughs in Tesla AI that will make the car feel eerily human," end quote. Well, 6 months makes sense, right? Because that's about how long it's been since we've had a substantial software update to the production branch of FSD Supervised. Now, the term breakthroughs, that is a bold choice of words there by Elon. Maybe I shouldn't parse his words quite so specifically there, but that's a term that gets me hyped up. I mean, using the term breakthroughs, that's all right. I'm eager to see it. So I hope we get to see it soon. I mean, heck, I would very selfishly settle for getting to experience it as not a robotaxi ride-hailing service user here in the San Francisco Bay Area, but as of yet, I still don't have an invitation to use the not a robotaxi ride-hailing service here in my neck of the woods. I know it'll come in due time. I'm not trying to get on here and beg for one, but it'd sure be fun to try it out. Whenever that day comes, I look forward to that, not only as somebody that is in the Tesla ecosystem pretty deeply here, but so then I can share my impressions of it with those of you who are not in the San Francisco Bay Area or Austin and thus don't have access to this as of yet. Next up this week, Tesla has applied for a new patent that could be a big factor in helping the next-gen Tesla Roadster achieve some of the insane performance metrics that Elon Musk has teased. Another tip of the cap goes to Teslarati. That's where I first saw this story, and they wrote, "A new patent from Tesla has now outlined a technology that could be a perfect fit for the upcoming all-electric supercar. Tesla's patent is for a multi-mode active aero system that uses fans and deployable skirts to generate controllable downforce. This should pave the way for optimal vehicle grip and performance across varying conditions, from the track to the drag strip. Tesla describes the patent's technology as follows, quote, "The system operates by creating bounded, e.g. sealed or partially sealed, regions beneath the vehicle through the selective deployment of skirts that interact with the ground surface. Fans positioned in airflow pathways that extend to these bounded regions generate low pressure within these areas by extracting air, creating downforce that enhances vehicle grip and stability, e.g. by creating a vacuum or partial vacuum in the bounded regions," end quote. Now, I'm certainly no engineer, nor do I speak patent particularly well, but if I'm interpreting this correctly, it sounds very similar in a lot of ways to what the McMurtry spiraling is doing. If you've never heard of that car, I completely understand, because for now, That car is just a prototype, but it absolutely works, and I wholeheartedly recommend that anybody curious about that car or about this fan vacuum technology, go watch the Top Gear video on it from earlier this year over on their YouTube channel. Now, essentially, the McMurtry spiraling is a pretty small one-seat sports car. It's electric, and it uses fans on the underside of it to do exactly this, to create suction, effectively, a vacuum, to keep the car stuck to the ground. And if you go watch the Top Gear video, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It is wild because this car with these fans absolutely flies around the Top Gear test track, cornering like literally, no exaggeration, like literally nothing, no other car that anyone has ever seen before. It also helps, the fans, those fans help that car, the McMurtry, go from 0 to 60 in about 1.5 seconds. So the point is, if the Roadster is using some version of this, obviously Tesla's own, let's call it, interpretation of it, based on the wording of this patent, if they're using some version of the same thing that the McMurtry $1 million prototype is using, as well as the Roadster using these deployable skirts to help direct that air and specifically target those downforce vacuumed areas, that plus the horizontal thrust of the SpaceX cold gas thrusters that'll come out from the rear license plate could combine to allow the Roadster to do some absolutely wild stuff, which is exactly how Elon has been hyping this thing up, particularly in recent months. And by the way, wild stuff that none of which would ever be usable on public roads. I don't think the cold gas thrusters are going to be able to fire off on a public road, nor do I think you're going to be hitting the vacuum, the fans. I don't think you're going to be hitting the fan. I mean, maybe you could run the fans on a public road. I guess if it's not bothering any other cars or endangering any other vehicles or anything, maybe you could fly around corners. It's probably not a safe thing to do on public streets, but in any case, I guess even if you're not allowed to use these technologies on public roads in the new Roadster, it'd still be an extremely quick, sexy supercar 99% of the time, but for that 1% of the time that you'd have it on a private course somewhere, a track, with all the safety protocols in place, helmet, fire suit, prepped track, all that stuff, it might truly be a sight to behold performance-wise, and I can't wait. Next up, we go into the not fun block of news. There's a couple stories here that are not particularly fun or positive, but they're certainly worth talking about. This first one is that Tesla's Project Dojo is now toast. This was first reported by Bloomberg and later confirmed by Elon Musk. Saw the write-up on Teslarati, again, originally Bloomberg. As per Bloomberg, Peter Bannon, who led Project Dojo, will be departing Tesla following Elon Musk's decision to shut down the initiative. Bloomberg claimed that Tesla's Project Dojo team had lost about 20 members recently, and the remaining members of the initiative would be reassigned to other data center and compute projects within Tesla. And then Elon later confirmed the report, posting on X, quote, "It doesn't make sense for Tesla to divide its resources and scale two quite different AI chip designs. The Tesla AI5, AI6, and subsequent chips will be excellent for inference and at least pretty good for training. All effort is focused on that. In a supercomputer cluster, it would make sense to put many AI5 or AI6 chips on a board, whether for inference or training, simply to reduce network cabling complexity and cost by a few orders of magnitude. One could call that Dojo 3, I suppose. The difference in real-world performance between AI 4 and AI 5 is far more than any chip version I've ever heard of by a lot. It's real good, end quote. Well, again, more hype for AI 5, which we know is still a little ways away. It's over a year away here, but Elon did always say, in his defense on this, he did always say that Dojo was an experiment and not necessarily a path that they were definitely going to fully go down and commit to. And it seems like AI 6 in particular, looking further down the chip roadmap, is going to do a good enough job for what Dojo was designed for that, as he said, it just wasn't going to be worth splitting resources and efforts, no doubt both internally but also externally with regard to suppliers and chip fabs. AI 6, again, AI 6 sounds like it is going to be a pretty big deal and also pretty important to Tesla. And once again, I'm left somewhat marveled that we are hearing, or at least we have been hearing, quite a lot about AI 6, even though AI 5 is still pretty far away. It's not only not out yet, it's over a year away, but we continue to hear about AI 6. But just an interesting story there about Tesla merging its chip-making efforts. And to round out the block of bad news stories this week, Tesla is going to appeal a jury verdict that held it partially liable for a fatal crash. Saw this one on Teslarati too, and they wrote, an 8-person jury ruled that Tesla's driver assistance technology was at least partially to blame for a crash when a vehicle driven by George McGee went off the road and hit a couple in Key Largo, Florida in 2019, killing a 22-year-old and injuring the other. The jury found that Tesla's tech was found to enable McGee to take his eyes off the road, despite the company warning drivers and vehicle operators that its systems are not a replacement for a human driver. Tesla attorney Joel Smith said in court, and this comes via the Washington Post, quote, "He said he was fishing for his phone. It's a fact. That happens in any car. That isolates the cause. The cause is he dropped his cell phone," end quote. In total, Tesla is responsible for $324 million in payouts, $200 million in punitive damages, $35 million to the deceased's mother, $24 million to their father, and $70 million to their boyfriend, who was also struck but was injured and not killed. The family of the deceased, Nibel Benavides Leon, also sued the driver and reached a settlement out of court. The family opened the federal suit against Tesla in 2024, alleging that Tesla was to blame because it operated its technology on a road, quote, "it was not designed for," the report states. Well, I'm not going to pretend to know what really happened here, nor do I want to take one side or another. However, the couple of thoughts that I can't help but have are, one, this was a jury verdict, meaning, and it was recent. And I bring that up to say, as I think most of us would agree, there has been a lot of anti-Tesla sentiment around the world, but particularly in America over the past year or so, with it arguably peaking earlier this year. And so I can't help but wonder if that might have factored into the jury's decision. It's not supposed to, right? And I hope it didn't, but people are human beings and we are influenced by various things. So I'm not accusing the jury of anything, but I'm saying I think it's fair to bring up in the context of this decision and the timing of it. And then, two, my other thought here is, every other time that somebody's blamed Tesla for their car accelerating on its own and the car ends up put through a wall or something, it's always been proven that no, it was in fact the operator of the vehicle that pressed the accelerator. Now I know, and we're not talking about unintended acceleration here, we're talking about a full self-driving or autopilot mishap. So in this case, if Tesla can prove that the driver was fishing for his phone and disengage the system in doing so, then I'm no lawyer, but I think Tesla should have a pretty strong chance to win the appeal there. If the system didn't disengage, but he still took his eyes off the road going for his phone, is that enough to still absolve Tesla of the responsibility here? Because again, as is clear, when you activate the system for the first time, or really every time you turn it on, it is a level 2, especially back in 2019 as well. You got to remember, we got to bring ourselves back in time. The lawsuit was from 2024, but the incident was in 2019, long before FSD, right? So that was just autopilot. At which point, you had to have your there was no eye tracking then. You just had to have your hand on the wheel. So, and there technically were roads that, I mean, you could activate it on pretty much any road. It wasn't going to take any turns for you, or at that point in time, I don't believe it responded to stoplights or stop signs. I'm not comfortable, or I'm not confident in my memory on that. But just the point is, the capabilities of the system were very different in 2019 than even in 2024 when this suit was filed. But at the time, it was a level 2 system that requires driver attention. Again, as is stated when you first activate autopilot at all in the car, and in fact, every time you turn it on, every time you activate it as well. It does say, keep your eyes and hands, pay attention. So ultimately, if Tesla does remain at fault here in the eyes of the appellate court as they go through the appeals process, then I hope that Tesla is able to learn something valuable that can be used to make the system better and safer in the future. Again, I get that they've already made the system better and safer in the 6 years since this incident. But I do hope that even if Tesla is ultimately held liable in the appeals process, that there can be some sort of benefit to it in the sense of improving the system, making it safer so that we don't have another incident like this again. I mean, I want to make clear this. I know this is a Tesla podcast. I don't want to overlook, a life was lost here. And regardless of who ultimately is proven through the appeals process to be at fault, a life was lost, and that's horrible. I don't want to lose sight of that. And it's tragic that a life was lost. And I hope that this just does not happen again through the improvements to the system and anything that Tesla may be able to take from this case and this incident that can help them make the system better and safer moving forward. In much better news, a Model 3 front bumper camera might be imminent. Saw this via the Tesla Newswire fan account on X, who posted pictures of a Shanghai-built Model 3 with an image showing a lower front bumper camera, and that image comes from an official government source. They wrote, quote, "Tesla will soon add a front bumper camera to the Model 3. The images confirming this upgrade were leaked on the official website of China's Ministry of Industry and Information Technology." And again, they provided the pictures to prove it. So as long as the images really came from the MIIT website, then yeah, it seems pretty definitive. And if it's not imminent, like I said a moment ago, particularly for the North American market, which, as we've seen in the past, could lag a bit behind Shanghai. Again, we've seen this with upgrades and changes to the cars before, where Shanghai gets them before Fremont does. But it should at least seem pretty inevitable here in North America. And remember, too, that Tesla's engineering boss, friend of the podcast, Lars Moravy, said just a couple weeks ago at the Tesla takeover event, he said, and I'm paraphrasing here, if you follow what we've done with the other cars, when he was directly asked a question about the front bumper camera on the Model 3, and that at the time, which I said on the podcast, seemingly confirmed it without explicitly saying, yes, we are doing this. So this is more evidence. First we had Lars' statement. Now we have this image from the China Ministry of Industry and Information Technology website. So it's looking really, really good that this is happening very, very soon. Now, I personally am very much praying for a retrofit option for my 2024 Model 3, if in fact, as it almost certainly will, this ends up finding its way to North America. And as I've said before, I am willing to pay a reasonable amount. I understand I don't expect it for free, and I understand that there's some labor involved. The parts cost should be cheap. It's just one 5-megapixel camera and the wiring, but then there's a good bit of labor to physically install it, run the wiring, get it, plug the thing into the FSD computer, which is located in the front passenger footwell. Then there's probably a little software flash that needs to happen to tell the UI that the front camera's there. I get that there's going to be some labor and some time involved in this. So, hey, charge me $1,000 and I will happily cough that up in exchange for being able to see things that are right in front of my car, like parking curbs. When I am pulling into a parking spot, if it's like an angled one that I can't back into, that I need to come in forward, I really want to be able to see exactly where that curb is so that I can make sure I'm not just going to grind my front splitter right over the top of it. So, as the classic Futurama meme goes, shut up and take my money, Tesla, please. I want to pay money to you for a retrofit on this. Now, I was curious if it's just me. Like, if is this one of those things where I'm really passionate about it, but the majority of folks out there don't really super care. So I made this the subject of this week's Patreon poll, which a whole bunch of you voted in. I'm seeing more and more votes every week, which I'm so grateful for. I'm glad more and more of you are stopping by the Patreon page to vote. Now, again, I know I talked about the Patreon a little while ago. The poll is free to everyone. It's just open to the public. You do not have to be giving me a cent to vote in the poll on my Patreon page each week. Just stop by and cast your vote on each week's new Patreon poll question. Website's the same, patreon.com/Tesla podcast, or click the link in the episode description. And the new poll usually goes up on Tuesday evenings, typically. So, the poll question was simply, how important is a front bumper camera to you on your Tesla? And let me put it this way. So I gave 4 choices plus a 5th no opinion, just show me the results choice. 18% of you said you weren't really interested. So just 2% of you said, my Tesla has a front bumper camera and I don't use it much. It's not important to me. Just 16% of you said, my Tesla doesn't have a front bumper camera and I don't care that it doesn't have one, which left a whole bunch of you that want one or have one and love it. So 57% of you voted, my Tesla doesn't have a front bumper camera, but I really wish it did. And then another 18% of you voted, my Tesla has a front bumper camera and I love it. It's very important to me. So overwhelming support for a front bumper camera there. And the comments, by the way, on this, a lot of great comments in here. I always appreciate when people take the time to leave a comment. A lot of people citing, if FSD is going to use this, then absolutely, I want it. Plenty of other people saying, yep, it would be great for parking. Just all around, people want it. So Especially since none of the cars are probably ever going to have ultrasonic sensors ever again. The toothpaste is out of the tube on that, horse is out of the stable, whatever, genie's out of the bottle, whatever metaphor, whatever saying you want to use, we are probably never going back to ultrasonic sensors. But with the camera on the lower front bumper, you probably don't really need the ultrasonic sensors, but it sure would be great if Tesla were to offer a retrofit for hardware for AI4 cars that should mostly all of them have the open port for it. That just needs a camera to get plugged in there and let's go. So I mean, I just got my car in December, so presumably my car has an available port for this. And boy, would I love for Tesla to wire up a camera into that port. Let me take a quick pause here to remind you, as I do every week, about my friends at XCare. Your car is getting older, right? If you've got a Tesla, it's older than it was when you heard the podcast last week. Same thing's happening to my car. And if you plan on hanging on to your Tesla or other EV for a while, you might want to consider an extended warranty. Now, we know that Tesla is now offering their own extended warranty, but as I've talked about, the XCare option from my friends at Accelerate Auto is as good, and I would argue even better, because it's customizable. You can tailor it to what you want. If you want to cover the high voltage battery and drive unit, you can do that. Teslas will not cover that. That is a separate warranty for Tesla, or from Tesla, I should say. You could do another 2 years, 3 years, 5, up to 10 extra years, up to 125,000 extra miles. The customer service experience is great. I've used mine a couple times. Filing a claim has been super easy. Reimbursement has been quick and painless. I really do believe in these guys. They're former Tesla employees themselves, and they're Tesla owners as well. So they're very much one of us. They've been on both sides of the Tesla fence as both employees and customers, and they are now offering XCare, and they've been doing so for a while. They just celebrated their 10th anniversary not too long ago. So if putting together your own custom tailored to you extended warranty for your EV sounds good, go to xcare.com. That's XCARE.com. Configure whatever you like. And because you're a Ride the Lightning listener, you get $100 off when you select XCare's one-time payment option. Just use the discount code LIGHTNING. So again, go to xcare.com. And I've got another fun story for you to finish off the Tesla news before I move to one good other EV news story. Newer Teslas look like they might be getting a visual upgrade to the in-car UI. This comes via white hat Tesla hacker Green the Only, who posted this on X, saying, quote, I did not notice it at first, but it looks like Tesla is adding Unreal Engine-based AP visualization. The one you see today is Godot-based. The binaries are already shipping, starting from firmware 2025.20, only on AMD-based S and X cars for now. Time to see if that could be activated somehow, with a winky face. And then he made a follow-up post with a video showing that he got it to work on a Model S, or at least a Model S UI. And he spun the car, spun a Model S render around, the same one that, we can do in our cars right now, or you can take your finger and just spin the car around, look around it. And if you're wondering, well, why do I care about this? What do you mean in-car Unreal Engine? What's that? So Unreal Engine is a very powerful and also at this point very ubiquitous video game technology that has even moved outside of video games. For instance, Unreal Engine, oh my goodness, puppy. Of course she has to use a squeaky toy. Why does she do this while I'm recording? She knows. All right, we gotta find another toy. I gotta take this. Any other toy that doesn't squeak will be just fine, pups. Okay, So Unreal Engine, getting back to the podcast, it's a fairly ubiquitous, very powerful video game technology that is now even in use outside of video games. And for instance, it is what powers Lucasfilm's The Volume. What if you've ever heard about The Volume at Lucasfilm, which is what they shoot The Mandalorian on. Basically, it's like a next generation green screen where it's very, very high fidelity rendering that with Lucasfilm makes it looks very real. So the actors are up against it and it looks like they're actually in the scene. Like it's pretty crazy stuff in terms of what Lucasfilm is doing with it. And with video games that you're actually interacting with, it is, again, a very high fidelity rendering package that creates very realistic, or whatever style you're going for, visuals, graphics. And on the development side, it's known for having very, very flexible, very easy to use development tools. And a lot of programmers out there, at least in the video game space, I can confidently talk about since that's my day job. A lot of video game programmers are familiar with Unreal Engine. So it has a lot of built-in advantages, is what I'm trying to say, to potentially save time on a big, high-budget, multi-year video game development project. So why Tesla would want it, I'm not necessarily entirely sure, but I can deduce that they must think that it will bring a better-looking UI for the same APU overhead compared to what they're using now, and or it's just going to look better, even if the overhead is the same. So it's basically they clearly see some benefit to switching to Unreal Engine in the cars, if in fact they are going to move forward with it. I mean, the fact that it's showing up buried in the firmware, as Green the Only likes to dig into, is a pretty good sign. It's not a guarantee that it's going to roll out to all the cars, but if Tesla does go forward with this, they in fact will not be the first car maker to use Unreal Engine in their car's UI. There are several. Rivian is using it. Lotus is using it. Volvo has it in their cars, and GM in the Hummer. The Hummer EV has it as well. So either way, it's another win for Epic Games. And Epic, if you're not familiar, they are the developers of the Unreal Engine. And also, by the way, if you've not heard of Epic, you've not heard of Unreal Engine, you've probably heard of Fortnite. That game is made by Epic Games, makers of Unreal Engine. So that hopefully helps tie it all together for you. So funny enough, by the way, just as a little bit of a non-Tesla but Unreal Engine aside here, back in the late 90s and the 2000s, there was really kind of this Coke versus Pepsi battle in the video game space between Unreal Engine and what was at the time referred to as the Quake engine. It's now known as id Tech, made by id Software. Those are the people that made Doom and Quake and still make Doom. And the programming genius John Carmack, Tesla owner, by the way, John Carmack. I have tried to get John Carmack on this podcast. I've asked him on X and sadly have never gotten a response. I did interview him once in my career, back when he's not in video games anymore, but Carmack's a legend, and he was always like kind of the engine guy, the engine guru. But when he left, and I mean, id Tech's still good if you play any of the new Doom games, Doom Eternal, or Doom the Dark Ages. That's built on id Tech, and so is the Indiana Jones. The new Indiana Jones game, which was my personal game of the year last year. Anyway, the point is, many, many big games back in the late 90s and early 2000s would use one or the other as the basis for their game because it was cheaper to just license that engine and build off of it rather than build their own game engine from scratch, which would just take longer and thus cost more money, right? So you had Half-Life, legendary game Half-Life, that was built on the Quake engine originally. More recent example, Borderlands. If you've played Borderlands, any of the three of them, and the fourth one's coming out next month, that was and still is an Unreal Engine game. So after Bethesda bought id, and then Microsoft later bought Bethesda, they kind of all but stopped licensing id Tech out. But which means these days Unreal Engine, they're not the only game in town, but it is by far the most dominant core gaming engine technology in the AAA gaming space. And now, again, they're doing movies and TV shows, and Unreal Engine is in cars, and possibly even it's coming very soon to our Teslas, which is pretty cool, especially given my day job. So maybe this story was more for me than for you guys, but hopefully some of you out there got a kick out of hearing about Unreal Engine possibly coming to your Tesla. And then lastly this week in other EV news, Ford is making a big investment in an entire new EV platform. I saw this on Drive Tesla Canada, who writes, Ford has officially revealed plans for a $30,000 mid-size electric pickup that will debut in 2027. The yet unnamed model will launch alongside a new manufacturing platform and assembly process that CEO Jim Farley describes as a, quote, Model T moment for the company. Unlike Ford's current EV lineup, which includes the F-150 Lightning with a large 98 kilowatt hour battery, the new pickup will use a pack roughly half that size, around 51 kilowatt hours of usable energy. This smaller battery strategy, combined with aerodynamic improvements and efficiency gains, is designed to reduce weight and lower costs. The electric truck will be built on Ford's new Universal EV platform, a flexible architecture capable of supporting sedans, SUVs, vans, and trucks. The company claims vehicles on this platform will have 20% fewer parts and 25% fewer fasteners compared to current models. A redesigned wiring harness will be 4,000 feet shorter and 22 pounds lighter than the one in the Mustang Mach-E, cutting both complexity and cost. The automaker's new universal assembly process will play a central role in making the truck profitable from day one. Instead of a traditional linear assembly line, Ford will use an, quote, assembly tree where three major sub-assemblies, the front, the rear, and the structural battery pack, are built in parallel before being joined together. Large single-piece castings will further streamline production, and the process will require 40% fewer workstations while speeding up assembly by 15%. And then our friend Sawyer Merritt adds on his account that, quote, Ford says it is going to deliver a family of affordable, adaptable electric vehicles that offer multiple body styles for work and play, including for export, and whose LFP batteries will be assembled in America, not imported from China, end quote. Well, if a lot of that sounds familiar, it is, of course, because it's a very Tesla-like approach, right? Structural battery pack, LFP, shortening the wiring harness, cutting parts. You know, it's a very Tesla-like approach. And I'll tell you this is maybe a little bit of a random aside. Maybe I shouldn't give in to the urge to comment on this, but I saw a lot of people that call themselves Tesla fans in the comments to Sawyer's post. A lot of Tesla fans dunking on this. And it just rubbed me the wrong way because, again, it's like I try to be positive, I try to be optimistic, and I get that you love Tesla, you want it to do well, but you just have to look at the bigger picture here. The bigger picture is this initiative by Ford is a good thing for the EV movement. You have one of the largest automakers in the world making a massive commitment to building a big new EV-only platform that they're going to use to build affordable EVs. You know who currently isn't doing that? Tesla. There's nothing on the roadmap, as I've worriedly talked about on the podcast in recent months. There's nothing on the Tesla roadmap for regular consumers in the $30,000 price range. There's a Cybercab, there's a Tesla Semi, which, yes, the Semi is its own very important category. Not trying to speak ill of the Semi at all, or the Cybercab for that matter, or the Roadster. But there is, like, let me put it this way. I wish Tesla were doing exactly what Ford is doing. I wish they had said, we're going to take our unboxed manufacturing strategy and we're going to use it to really affordably build and affordably sell an entire new line of cars on a platform. That's what so I applaud the heck out of Ford here. You know, yeah, it's going to take time to do. We're not going to see it for at least a couple years, this first vehicle. But I would just love to see Tesla say, yep, we're going to do a mid-size pickup truck, a compact, or I guess, I don't know, is it compact pickup truck? What's the smallest size pickup truck? Is it called compact? I don't actually know. But we're going to do, smaller pickup trucks. We're going to do a hot hatch. We're going to do a minivan. We're going to do a delivery van. We're going to do all these things and use our unboxed strategy and do it. But Tesla, from what we've been told directly, they're not interested in that. They're interested in autonomy and robots. And that's awesome. There is nothing wrong with that. But like I've said, I don't want to just rehash the stuff I've already said on recent podcasts, but they have the resources and the talent to do all of it. They don't have to leave consumer passenger vehicles behind in favor of autonomy and robotics. They can do autonomy and robotics and keep doubling down on their world-class manufacturing talent and capability to keep making more cars, which is what they said they were going to do at Battery Day 5 years ago, almost exactly 5 years ago. I was lucky enough to be there, where, as you all know, they laid out, they said, by 2030, we want to be making and selling 20 million EVs per year. And that strategy has changed, and I just think they can do both. Like, I get the high ceiling of Optimus. Huge high ceiling, not just stock price-wise or revenue-wise, business-wise, but of quality of life-wise, of like societal impact. I get it. It has a huge high ceiling, a sky-high ceiling. Same thing with autonomy. It's not just a stock price booster. It's not just a revenue generator. It is something that can have a hugely positive societal benefit. But we also still need a lot more EVs at prices that are more affordable than what Tesla's got now. As great as the Y and the 3 are, and I know there's the basic Model Y coming, and we'll see how much that's going to cost, but I don't want to make this, I'm not trying to attack Tesla here at all. I hope it doesn't come off that way. I'm applauding Ford and saying, as a car guy and somebody that's rooting for Tesla and Tesla's mission, which, by the way, what Ford is doing is working towards accomplishing Tesla's mission of accelerating the world's transition to sustainable transport and energy. But I wish Tesla were also doing what Ford has announced that they were doing. But in any case, bravo Ford. I look forward to seeing what new EVs they debut on this new platform over the next 5 to 10 years, starting with this mid-size pickup truck in 2 years from now. All right, that'll do it for another super busy week of Tesla and EV news. But I'm not done yet. I have got the Ride the Lightning hotline right around the corner. Your phone calls queued up, ready to go. I'm going to hear from all of you guys coming up right after this.
Hi, this is Franz von Holzhausen, and you're listening to Ride the Lightning with Ryan McCaffrey, the Tesla unofficial podcast.
Welcome to the Ride the Lightning hotline, your chance to potentially be featured here on the podcast. If you've got a Tesla or EV-related question, comment, or discussion topic, I welcome and invite you to call in. There are two easy ways to do that. Either use your smartphone's built-in voice recording software, record your question. Please try to keep it to 90 seconds or less so that I can get to as many callers each week as possible. And then email that file to me at teslapodcast@gmail.com. Or you can take that same 90-second or less question and just call in anytime and leave a message on the Ride the Lightning hotline. It's a toll-free number. Call it anytime. It's 1-888-989-8752. That number again is 1-888-989-TSLA. And if you know someone special out there with an upcoming birthday, anniversary, graduation, or some other special occasion, you can give them a unique gift of recorded voices from friends and family telling them why they're special. The recordings can be podcasted or put onto a keepsake. Visit lifeonrecord.com to learn more. First up this week is Mike from Florida.
Hi, Ryan. This is Mike from Florida. I drive a 2022 Model Y Performance and absolutely love it. I've been a $99 a month FSD subscriber for a while now, and I use it almost exclusively. It's completely spoiled me. After experiencing a rental last week, a Tesla without FSD, I realized I'll never own another car without it. It's that good. That said, I have a quick question and observation. As amazing as unsupervised FSD is, and will become, I'm one of those drivers with an AI3 car who likely won't see it on my current vehicle. And honestly, I'm okay with that. I actually like driving sometimes, rare as that is, and I'm genuinely content with what FSD can do today on my Model Y. If this is as far as it goes for my hardware, so be it. It's still light years ahead of anything else on the road. So I'm curious, are there others like me who feel no urgency to upgrade just to get access to unsupervised FSD? I'm sure it'll be amazing, but I'm perfectly happy with what I have now. Thanks, Ryan. Look forward to hearing your thoughts. Always enjoy the podcast.
Thank you for the kind call, Mike, and I am thrilled to hear that your Model Y has treated you so well. There are no doubt plenty of fellow Tesla owners out there who feel the same way that you do. Now, what do I base that on? My answer is the low take rate on FSD purchases, which Elon even commented on a couple quarters ago when he acknowledged that the AI3 cars aren't going to be able to do full self-driving unsupervised and would need to be upgraded. I recognize, though, that my fairly sweeping general statement doesn't cover everyone, including you, since you mentioned that you're an FSD monthly subscriber rather than somebody who paid for it outright. But I would still confidently say that you're far from alone. I would be curious, though, if you've had a chance to try version 13 on an AI4 car at all. As you know, I have the very great privilege of having two Teslas, an AI3 car and an AI4 car. And I do find that the AI4 car drives noticeably smoother on FSD Supervised. But anyway, I am glad you're happy with what you've got. And if you ever decide to trade in that car down the road, you know that you'll be in for an even better experience. And as I was talking about earlier in the podcast, you'll hopefully have that loyalty benefit of FSD transfer available to you, as it sure seems like Tesla is setting in place for the long haul. Thank you again for your call. Next up, here's Robert from Texas.
Hey, Ryan, it's Robert from Texas. Just making a comment on your analysis on the stripped-down Model Y and the $35,000 price point. I thought it was excellent. A good way to think about it. I do think that you're right. $35K is the right price, not $37 or $38 or $40. There was one thing you didn't mention, which I understand why, because it doesn't change it all, but I think it's important to note that the actual computer hardware and the software doesn't change from the higher level models. In fact, obviously, that software and computer hardware is the same as a, Model X, Model S, performance Model Y, et cetera, et cetera. So even on the stripped down car, you get all the best hardware and software that Tesla has. And I think that's worth a lot. I know that's not as easily kind of talked about as as the actual doors and the fixtures and everything, but it is a very important part. And that also means that if you pay for FSD or subscribe to FSD, you get the same quality of full self-driving that you'll get on even the more premium cars. So that's worth a note for people thinking about buying a Tesla. And I think once they get to unsupervised FSD, there's going to be a lot of people who like that $35,000 stripped down car, who, have hour and a half commutes, who can now free up that time to do email and read the paper and make phone calls and things like that, which some of them are trying to do anyway in the car, which, as you know, is not safe. So just a thought. Take care. Love the show.
You're absolutely right, Robert. That is a valid and good thing to point out, that the lower price point won't mean that you get a lesser UI experience or a lesser FSD experience should that customer opt in to FSD. So good stuff. Thank you so much for that call. I don't really have much to add to that. I just think he made a good point there. Good stuff, Robert. Appreciate it. Next is Jay from Los Angeles with a suggestion for an FSD feature.
Hi, Ryan. This is Jay from Los Angeles. I wanted to suggest a feature for full self-driving that would make a big difference for my daily commute usage. Right now, the default or fastest route chosen by FSD often isn't ideal. It might exit the freeway unnecessarily, take twisty or turn-heavy roads, go through areas I'd rather avoid for safety reasons, or even drive over poorly paved streets. There are also specific turns I know are particularly challenging, and I prefer to avoid them altogether. What I'd really love is the ability to customize the route, either by copying a drive I've already done manually, or by setting waypoints to guide the car through certain roads and avoid others. That kind of feature would greatly improve my day-to-day FSD experience and make it even more useful and enjoyable. Thanks for everything you do with the podcast. Hope this suggestion makes it onto Tesla's radar.
Jay, thank you for your call. I know this idea has come up before, but I would like to once again give it a full-throated endorsement here on this podcast for what little that might be worth. I have the same experience you do. There are plenty of times on a regular basis that the car wants to take a route that I don't prefer. So a remember my route button, similar to how the car can GPS tag your mirror folding and your liftgate height to remember your preferences for those in a particular location. A remember my route button using that same GPS thing, GPS, tagging, would be awesome. I haven't heard the idea of giving the car waypoints, but I do like that suggestion, Jay. You could maybe do it, just trying to think through your idea, like maybe you could do it via your Tesla app ahead of time if you wanted to also. And I'm just thinking out loud here. Either way, good stuff, Jay. Thank you so much. From your lips to the Tesla software team's ears, let's hopefully make this happen. Next up is Dave in Raleigh.
Hey, Ryan, it's Dave in Raleigh. Huge congrats on 10 years of Ride the Lightning without missing a single week. That is amazing. I've been listening since 2017 when I was researching a Model S. Your show became my go-to, and with your guidance, I took the plunge on a 2018 Model S, even prepaying for FSD. That car turned out to be not just the best car I've ever owned, but the best consumer product of any kind. The iPhone is a distant second. I'm also a Tesla shareholder, and your coverage of the products, the earnings calls, and the market scuttlebutt has been invaluable to my research. I'm a proud Patreon supporter too. Bravo, brother. Keep it rolling. Quick Tesla story. My Model S Bebo has been phenomenal. At 98,928 miles, she's used lots of tires, but the only work has been under warranty. a hardware 3 upgrade, and a 12-volt battery. Until last February, she refused to go into gear. Turned out the high voltage battery was near failure. Luckily, I was 7 years into the 8-year warranty. Tesla replaced both the big battery and the 12-volt battery again under warranty. I just paid the tow bill. Even when she failed, she did it safely in my garage, so technically she's never stranded me. And even better, while she was in the shop, Tesla gave me a Cybertruck loaner for a week. Hardware 4 is a big leap. The truck feels strong, nimble, and huge all at once. And I went from skeptical to loving the look of that beast. It was frustrating to have to go through the app for the initial diagnostics, but once I was dealing with humans, it was first class all the way. Kudos to Tesla for the products and service. I'm a Tesla lifer. Please give my best to your family and the puppies.
Dave, you made my day with this very, very kind phone call. Thank you so much. Seriously. I am so glad that your Model S has treated you so well. And boy, thank goodness that your high voltage battery issue fell just within the battery warranty. That's a huge relief. And now you must feel like you have half a new car at this point. Nice bonus that you got to experience the drive-by-wire and four-wheel steering on the Cybertruck for a week while your car was at the service center getting, I guess, what I would consider a lung transplant, right? Because maybe like the MCU or FSD computer would be a brain transplant. Swapping the motors would be a heart transplant. The battery's like the lungs, right? Would we? I don't know. Am I off on that? Anyway, Dave, here is to another 100,000 miles of joy from that Model S for you. Cheers. Appreciate the call. I've got time for one more caller this week. It's from another Dave, David T, specifically from Syracuse, New York, responding to my thoughts on the summer update and specifically the light sync feature.
Hey, Ryan, this is David T from Syracuse, New York. Gosh, man, 5th or 6th time caller, but long time listener. So, hey, I was listening to your recent episode regarding the new light sync update with the new software update. So I had a few buddies ride along and check out the new update since those updated light features came out for the new Juniper. I have a 26 Stealth Gray, love it. My friends love it too, by the way. So anyway, I do have a few friends in the medical field who have them too. And they mentioned a cool, unique suggestion. You know, I guess this wouldn't matter if you had FSD enabled or not, but let's say you're driving and you may be cruising with, music on, vibing, enjoying your day, etc., right? And you have maybe an ambulance, maybe a police car, fire department, etc., creeping in your rear view with lights on. How cool would it be, down the road or something if Tesla facilitated a new update where if it detects emergency lights, your new light sync feature or ambient lights maybe flicker like a red and blue, or like in general turned red and blue, or gave you some sort of warning. I think that would be really a nice touch. Just a couple of buddies of mine in the medical field suggested that. I think that would be a really cool little addition. Maybe you can toggle on or off in those light sync settings. But hope you and Daisy and the rest of the family are doing well. Thanks, Ryan. Peace.
I love that idea, David. More awareness of emergency vehicles around you is never a bad thing. I think we've all seen plenty of people on the road at some point or another who don't pull over to the side because they're either jamming to music and lost in that, or lost in thought, or on their phone, etc. So I think your idea here would be a good way to help alert people. I'm happy to co-sign on this one. Again, hopefully the Tesla software folks are listening. Thank you, David, for your call. Thank you to everybody that was kind enough to take some time to record a call, to call in and participate in the podcast. I promise I will get to more of your Ride the Lightning phone calls on next week's podcast. But now we move to the soul of adventure, what's going on with my car. And well, honestly, not much. So I guess I can just keep moving because we're well past the 75-minute mark here of this week's episode. But you know what? I'm going to give you an entertainment recommendation, though. And I believe it was longtime listener and Patreon backer Michael Gallo that had suggested this to me, I think. I hope I'm attributing this correctly. I watched it on a recommendation. Super, super enjoyed it. It's on Paramount Plus, and it is a documentary called Casa Bonita, Mi Amor. And it is about the creators of South Park, Matt Stone and Trey Parker, buying this famous Denver area restaurant that's like half Mexican restaurant and half Disneyland that opened in the 70s, and generations of kids have grown up like having birthday parties there and loving it and having a great time. There was a South Park episode about it because Matt and Trey are from that area and grew up with it. And it's about them buying Casa Bonita out of bankruptcy and the insane scenario that unfolded when they got in there and saw like how bad the situation was with the building and everything they did to eventually reopen it. I mean, maybe you're not going to care if you're not a South Park fan. I'm a big fan of everything Matt and Trey do. I am of the opinion, comedy is very subjective. I think they're the two most brilliant satirists of our time. I mean, the Book of Mormon was hilarious. Team America was hilarious. South Park, I adore. I've loved it since the very beginning. Everything those guys do, I've been a big fan of, and this documentary was really neat. It was kind of a neat thing. I'm glad they shot it. I'm glad they filmed this whole thing. So anyway, Casa Bonita, Mi Amor on Paramount Plus, if you want to check that out. Back to Tesla stuff, though. Here is your pro tip of the week. It comes from Jonathan in Georgia.
Hey, Ryan. Thanks for taking my call. So I think I've figured out this might be a pro tip of the week, but I've been having problems, and I think this is pretty common for, in particular, Model Y owners from 2020 or on. But when we get in the car, the phone doesn't always connect. I mean, it connects to drive the car, but it doesn't connect necessarily your contacts from your phone or, to answer your phone and things along those lines from the car. It doesn't automatically connect. I have to manually connect nearly every time. But I think I figured out a kind of a hack or a workaround, not necessarily a solution, but the suggestion that I have, I've noticed it works almost 100% of the time. If I get into the car, before I shut the door, I put my foot on the brake pedal and then shut the door. My phone connects almost 100% of the time. But if I get in the car and I don't put my foot on the brake pedal and I shut the door, the screen turns off. And then, of course, to turn the screen back on, I put my foot on the brake pedal. When that happens, the phone is not connected. But if you put your foot on the brake pedal before you shut the door, like I said, nearly 100% of the time, the phone connects. Hope that helps some folks out there. And this is Jonathan from Sonoy, Georgia.
I'm going to count this as a pro tip, Jonathan, because this will certainly help other owners out there who are having this issue. I am lucky to say that this hasn't been a problem for me in either Model 3, so I'm not sure if it really is a Model Y specific issue or just a random bug of sorts. But regardless, I am so glad to hear that you found a simple workaround that's effective, and I am happy to share it with everybody listening to this podcast. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Appreciate you calling in with that pro tip. And as I like to remind you here, I play a pro tip every single week. So sometimes the well runs a little dry. I'm doing okay right now, but if you've got a good Tesla or EV pro tip, boy, would I love to hear it so that I can learn from it and I can share it with everybody listening. So if you have a Tesla pro tip of the week, please call in with it. Also, try to keep it to 90 seconds or less, and you can submit it the same way that you send in a regular Ride the Lightning hotline call, and I gave you the two methods to do that a little while ago. Before I scoot out of here, I want to mention some friends of Ride the Lightning that can hopefully be useful to you at some point. Maybe that's in the near-term future. Maybe it's something you just file away in the back of your head. AbstractOcean.com. They have so many great aftermarket accessories, not just for all the Teslas, but for the Rivians as well, and plenty of other vehicles. You got to check them out. Maybe you like the custom-fit 4th-generation tempered glass screen protector that they've got, which is made using Gorilla Glass, the good stuff that's hard to break, hard to scratch. Maybe you want to grab one of their many lighting kits for the interior or exterior of the car to either add some extra lighting or change the color of the lighting in the cars. There's just so much good stuff. For you Cybertruck owners, they sell the Expel custom cut protection film pieces for the non-stainless parts of the car. So your wheel arches, the tailgate top, just the rails, like all the different pieces that if you want to keep that Cybertruck looking as good as it possibly can, you're going to want to check that stuff out at abstractocean.com. And whatever you like, after you've browsed around the site, you've added everything you like to your online shopping cart, you get to check out, you put in the code RTL Podcast, and you'll get 15% off of your first order. That coupon code again, it's all one word, and it's RTL Podcast. So check them out, abstractocean.com. The snap plate, meanwhile, and the new Snap Plate Plus as an extra option, which is a stronger custom reinforced version. But the Snap Plate is available for, again, all the Teslas plus the Rivians, including, by the way, the new Model Y, and it's been redesigned to accommodate the front bumper camera, which was a big topic of discussion earlier on this show. So they've got you covered as the short version. I really prefer the Snap Plate versus the front license plate bracket that Tesla gives you with your car, because the one that Tesla gives you sticks to the car with automotive tape, with adhesive, and it is not going to be fun to get off. If you ever want to take it off for any reason, good luck doing so without damaging the paint. The Snap Plate will go on securely, but come off easily and leave no unsightly anything behind. And it's a nice, clean, minimalist design, which I'm a big fan of. So go to everyamp.com/RTL or click the link in the episode description. Choose whichever product you prefer, the regular Snap Plate or the stronger Snap Plate Plus. And when you get to checkout, use the coupon code RTL for a nice discount there. Thank you to my friends at Every Amp for continuing to extend that coupon code discount to my audience. Immaculate Reflections, super talented professional automotive detailer here in the greater San Francisco Bay Area. So if you're here or gonna be here with a car that you love, actually as I record this, it's Car Week down in Monterey, so that's the greater Bay Area. Maybe you were coming through for a Car Week in Monterey, but any case, whatever time of year it is. Although at this time of year, still summer, and the summer special continues for my audience at Immaculate Reflections. So if you get in touch through the website, which is irdetailing.com, and you talk through it with Jeff, the owner there, and you figure out what you want to do with your budget, whether it's paint correction, paint protection film on some of the car, maybe just the front, maybe the key areas, front and back, maybe the whole car, or maybe you want to do ceramic coating or some combination of those. Whatever you want to do, sort it out with Jeff at Immaculate Reflections, and make sure to say, hey Jeff, I'm a Ride the Lightning listener. May I please have the summer special? And he will say, yes, you absolutely may. And that means $200 off of any paint correction service, $500 off of any ceramic coating package, and 15% off of any PPF package. So that is awesome stuff. Again, go to the website, irdetailing.com. My Patreon, one more time, you can find it at patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. That is where you can go to support what I'm doing here week in and week out. It's totally free, of course, always has been, always will be, but your support is truly what allows me to continue justifying the time, the energy, the care, the passion that I put into this. It is because of you guys that I keep going. I love doing it, don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm only doing it for money. That is definitely not the case, but it takes up a significant enough chunk of my life that your support on Patreon is sincerely appreciated. Let me put it that way. So if you see it in your heart to support me, you can do so starting at just $5 a month. And for $5 a month, you'll get an ad-free episode every week, and you'll get that ad-free episode early. If you step up to the most popular tier, which is the $10 per month tier, you get the early episode, the ad-free early episode, and you get those weekly 155 and counting lightning round mini episodes to listen to as well. All that extra bonus content is right there for you. So go to my Patreon page at patreon.com/Tesla podcast. If you're not already following the podcast, but you use one of the big podcast services like Apple Podcasts or Spotify or TuneIn or YouTube Podcasts, I'm on all of those, so I recommend that you follow me there, which doesn't cost you a dime. All you got to do is just search Ride the Lightning Tesla on any of those. You should see this podcast pull up right away, and just click follow. And what that's going to do is, every time there's a new episode, which is every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific, you'll get a push notification on your device letting you know about the new episode, so that you can go, oh yeah, okay, you're right, new Ride the Lightning today, great. And you can just tap on it and immediately start listening. You can also follow me on both X and or Instagram. My username is the same on both of those, and that username is DMC_Ryan. You can email me anytime about any Tesla or EV related things at teslapodcast@gmail.com. Lastly here, I want to say a big hello and thank you to the top tier Patreon backers, starting with the newest Maximum Plaid tier member, Matt Chinander. Matt, thank you so much for upgrading. Matt was already kindly backing me on Patreon, but very generously upgraded to the Maximum Plaid tier, which means that Matt will not only get his name shouted out every week, but he'll be invited to each month's Patreon Zoom hangout. Next one will be coming up again in early September. Looking forward to seeing you and chatting with you on there, Matt, with the rest of the great group that we always have every single month. So the rest of the Maximum Plaid backers are Jonathan Wales, Cameron Clark, Daniel Grummer, Seth Capello, Nick and Tony, the Galpin family, Ryan from New York City, Darren Nickel, Kaz Barnes, Patrick Wisniewski, Gil Cabrera, Todd Badger, Joe Edgel, Kevin Yank, the Tesla Owners Club of San Joaquin Valley, Will Stedman, Justin Perez, Jeremy Harris, Chris Beach, Tom Mills, Corey O'Donnell, Aaron, John Cody, Joel Sapp, Paul Casarino, Chris Osborne, KB, Adam Lavoie, Jason Chalukas, Travis Krenzel, Bruce Otterstein, Tom Behan, Josh Pennington, John from Cream Ridge, New Jersey, Dustin Hart, Derek Finley, Charles Clement, Damon Klein, Jeff Brown, Jerry Slinger, Kenneth Corbett, Brian Bertoglio, Kim Bay, Troy Sievers, Nick Jacoby, and Chip Hooper. Next up, the Roadster in Space tier backers, who get all that stuff plus a one-on-one hangout with me each month if they elect to choose it, as a few of them usually do, and it's always fun to chat. So a big thanks goes out to Pete White, Lyle Austin, Steve Radspinner, Fernando Cordero, Lawton from Chicago, Sean Neidig, Neil Weaver, Jackson Wallace, Rolf and Jennifer Evers, Howard Anthony Smith, Victoria Iacovetto, Tesla Hitchhiker 42, Carol Weston, Robert from near Philly, American Home Contractors, Doug Carey, Michael Gallo, and Tony Figueroa. And finally, the grandfathered in, very awesome folks at the Plaid tier. This tier is officially not offered anymore, but these very generous folks continue to support the podcast and support what I'm doing here at that tier. And so they'll continue to get all the perks and bonuses that they should get for that, which includes their shout out each week here. So hello and thank you to George Cassiopo, Logan Willis, Peter Chalet, Eric Randolph, Dory and Steve Guberman, the Tesla Owners Club of Taiwan, Ron Lee, Charlie Gillespie, Jeff Angwin, Chase Cabanillas, the Lydia family, Aaron Altschul, Jared Brown, Jerome Strack, Jamie Dalton, Mike and Barbara from Louisville, Matt Nixon, the Tesla Owners Club of Wisconsin, Ish, not Elon Musk, who, by the way, saw him at the last hangout. He is, in fact, not Elon Musk, we learned. It wasn't just a joke from Elon. So, no, he's really not Elon Musk, and it was great to chat with him. Peter and the Bear Boys of Colorado. That'll wrap it up here for Ride the Lightning episode 524. Ooh, palindrome coming up next week, 525, same number forwards and backwards. That should be fun. As always, there will probably be plenty of interesting Tesla and EV stuff to talk about. I look forward to that. But in the meantime, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. If you made it this far, this was a lot of podcast once again this week. And your time is your most valuable resource, arguably, because we all only get the same 24 hours a day. So thank you for spending a chunk of your week here with me, talking all things Tesla and EV and these cars and this company's mission and what they're up to. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Happy electric motoring, and I'll see you back here next week.
Elon Musk, people don't like Elon Musk. The guy founded PayPal and Tesla, and people are like, yeah, but he's a troll and a bad dad. I'm like, so was mine. He did nothing to fight climate change. Also, have you been in a Tesla? Have you been in a Tesla? My buddy let me drive his Tesla. I laughed out loud at how fast it went. Been clinically depressed my entire life, on dozens of medications, in a Tesla for 13 seconds, cured forever.
I mean, I think a Tesla is the most fun thing you could possibly buy ever. That's what it's meant to be. Our goal is to make it's not exactly a car. It's actually a thing to maximize enjoyment. It's maximum fun.